Welcome to Naked Notes, where two chicks talk about notes while they're What? That's not what this podcast is about? Welcome to Naked Notes, where you will learn the honest, unfiltered, and naked truth about buying non-performing notes throughout the country. Whether you're brand new to this type of investing or have your own portfolio, let Naked Notes be your guide through the note world. Now, here are your hosts, Jasmine and Shelby.
Welcome to Naked Notes. I'm your host, Jasmine Wilwa.
And I am Shelby Reed. Thank you so much for joining us back here. We're at season 8, episode 4. We have a super special guest today that Jasmine and I are both really excited about. He is an author and he has an amazing book out. We'll let him talk about it, but we are just really, really excited to have him on. We think you guys will really connect with his message and not only help you in your mindset on note investing, but also just life overall and how to frame your thought process and frame your thoughts and control your mind to just be successful in life in general.
Yeah, I mean, nothing could be more poignant to a note investor than their mindset. So if you have listened to this podcast in the past, you've heard me talk about how this is nothing but a meta game, right? I always talk about it's not brawn, right? That you need here. You're going to need a little bit more brain in this one. So really thought it was important for us to bring out this special guest. And that's kind of part of what we want to have here, right? Give you access to the people that keep us going and all little secret sauces, right? And so today's episode is going to talk to you about the secret sauce and how important your mindset is. Because again, this is really a game where you're not really out there physically moving things. Your creativity is really at the peak of your success here. And that can often be stumped by just little things that are keeping your mindset down. So whether it's in your personal life or also in the note game, which we give you enough to get upset about, right? If you allow it. So yeah, this is going to be a great episode to keep you guys on point. In the meantime, we have our note-related moment. So I want to get started with that so you can tie into what we went through over the last week since we last spoke to you. And then we're going to jump right into the special guest. Shelby, what's your note-related moment?
Well, my note-related moment this week has been, I've just been really busy. Things have seemed very chaotic with going into the holidays, and my husband's 40th birthday is this weekend. And I guess not that it's super note related, but it's just, I've been a little, yes, he's turning 40. And so I've just been stressed a little bit because I haven't had the time to really sit down at my desk and focus on and do like the hard work that I want to do on some of the loans that have been coming through. And so my note related moment is just that, you know, I'm just trying to find time right now to get it in the schedule. And I appreciate, you know, Jasmine, you every once in a while have been tagging me on our boards and saying, hey, you know, how's this coming? Where's it at? And it kind of helps to loop me back in and just realize that, oh, another day has passed and I haven't responded to this message. So it's just, you know, organizing my schedule and finding the time is always a stressor for everyone. And so it's just more of, I wanted to share it just so that everybody knows that, you know, I think it happens to all of us.
Yeah, that's interesting, especially with someone who's full-time note investing. And the people ask, do you have enough to keep you busy? Clearly, the answer is yes. Nothing changes for that element when you go from working for other people or contracting to just working for yourself. It's still about time management. So I think that was huge for those of you who are going, so is this a real thing? Is there enough inventory out there to keep me busy? The answer is yes, right? And I think that's what she's expressing. So that was a good tip, I think. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, let's hear yours.
Yes. So for me, my note-related moment is really tying into what I've been going through the last couple of weeks as well. And that exactly ties into the holidays, because this is where I start trying to look forward, right? And all that forward thinking, all that creativity that's needed, that comes from you having a strong mindset. So really, for me, the holidays always make me remember that you have to have a clear mind. And that's the best way to note. The best way to note is a clear mind. So for those of you who are good at compartmentalizing your lives, this is going to be a good opportunity for you, right? This is your business because one, not necessarily here to talk about, you know, all the personal things that happen because we all go through different things, but although they're very similar, we have sicknesses and things like that. I know I'm personally dealing with people who are not in good health. So you have those type of things going on. Then you've got the holidays that are going to distract you. When it's time to have notes, really, for me, I have to shut it down, especially when I'm going to start figuring out what the next steps are for notes that are needing workouts, right? And so the important thing for me, note related moment, is making sure you have a clear mind when you note. And this podcast episode should help you get there, as he talks about persistence, right? And that persistence part really ties into, again, how much time are you going to spend in your grieving mode, or how many time are you going to spend into your drama mode, whatever things that are going on outside of your life? Then you got to stop and pull out that note mode, shut everything down. But that takes practice. It takes time, right? And so that's one of the skills that you really want to show up here, either not necessarily mastered, but having the mindset saying, I know I have to continue to work on that. So between timelines and, for this week, for me, shifting through inventory to put in front of my community, there's a lot of guys out there just greedy to the bone, right? And nothing frustrates me more than that when I get these tapes where people I want you to pay me, double the payoff, or give me your pricing based on the after repair value of the house. Am I buying a home? Is this an REO? Have you done all the legwork to get toward that pricing? So things like that will get you frustrated. And so mindset, and this book that I've read through our new speaker that's coming up here has really helped me kind of revisit things that have, again, that patience muscles. We've talked about that over and over again. So anyway, I'd love to get to Shane, Mr. Boring. In the meantime, I do believe we have a commercial break. So that's my note related moment, is like, this is a meta game. Keep your mindset together. And sometimes really the only thing that works is doing that compartmentalizing of everything.
Absolutely. That's perfect. All right. Well, let's take a word from our sponsor and we'll be right back.
Are you ready to build your legacy and work for yourself? NAP, the Note Assistance Program, is here to help you build your empire with mortgage note investing. Receive monthly inventory in your inbox. Get access to top-notch online training and participate in trusted transactions with vetted sellers and buyers. Join their community by visiting noteassistanceprogram.com now and register for one of their nationwide note labs or online training today.
Welcome back to our episode. Really quick before we introduce Shane, I kept thinking about Jasmine's note related moment and just how that really stuck out to me. And it's so important. We're all so busy these days, and it just seems like we're go constantly, but you've got to take the time, whether it's scheduling in your calendar or whatever you want to do. Jasmine talked about, compartmentalizing the thoughts, but you've got to take the time to slow down and actually do that deep work and think and be creative, because so much in note investing, what Jasmine was saying is you've got to be creative, and you can't do that when you're running 100 miles an hour. So right, when you wake I thought up, that was awesome.
I was gonna say, you don't always wake up at your most creative mode, right? You got kids jumping on their bed, you have a national emergency. So sometimes I found it helpful to sit down, especially in this business, you're doing all your work on the front end. So if you're doing due diligence on a note, never mind actually trying to help someone with a workout, you don't really want to miss a lot of these things, right? Just because you were distracted. So definitely when you're doing your front end due diligence, this is when it would probably be most important, if not always, obviously.
Yeah, no, wanted to share. I thought it was a good one. So, okay. Well, I want to introduce Shane Boring. So Shane is author and owns his own business as well. His book is Think a Better Thought. He graciously sent Jasmine and I both copies, and I know both of us were messaging each other while we started getting into it, and just there's a lot of good stuff in here. And so what I wanted to kind of share with Shane was that he said that learning who the little voice inside his head is and how to control that voice, and that lesson and thinking through that lesson has caused him to change his conception on everything in his life and inspired him to share his personal experience in this book. So welcome, Shane, to the Naked Notes podcast.
Good to see you, my friend.
Thank you very much, Shelby and Jasmine. I was just thinking while you're reading, I just love your energy on the show. I mean, it's just so fun. I've just been smiling here listening to you guys. So thanks for having me on. It's just a pleasure.
Well, before we get into our questions, because just so you know, we are so anxious and excited about our guests, we definitely have questions pre-made for them. But really, I took the time to go to your website. So if you have not, go to this guy's website, because we're all here building legacies, right? That's literally what, at least in this community as the NAPNATION, we're here, most of us, to build legacies and create, wealth, long-term wealth for our families. I looked at your website, and you are running some sort of fund with like almost I don't know if it's your immediate family or something, but I was very impressed. And I just want to speak to that because really we're bringing people who are actually doing, walking and talk and talking the talk. So tell us a little bit about the legacy and the empire that you built, because I'm very impressed.
Well, thank you. So this is my 17th year to be a business owner. A lot of that was with the marketing agency, but over the last couple of years, I've got 4 kids and a beautiful wife. We brought everyone in and we said, hey, what can we do where we can create generational wealth, where when I go on, I don't have to worry about what my kids are going to be doing, what their kids are doing, all that, I can just leave it behind. So we decided to go into the commercial real estate investment business. And actually, we just got a nice 555 storage unit property under contract just a few days ago. Yeah.
Wow. Congratulations.
We're in the storage business too. So yeah, and it's all about teaching the kids how to become business owners, really putting them through it, but really having the time together. When I thought about what's really important to me, and you're talking about time management, well, it's the experience with the family. It's the memories. That's what's really important to me. And you have to ask yourself, why am I doing this? Why am I learning how to do this note business? Why am I putting myself out there with people who I know? It's the same with anything new. Why am I doing it? Well, you gotta have that why. You gotta have that so that when the roller coaster goes down, you can be like, oh yeah, this is why.
Here's what's amazing to me is that I feel like this whole business model that you created also ties into the book of mindset, because what better way to teach your children, the next generation, that mindset? And that's one of the most important things to pass on. Okay. Money is one thing, but that mindset is what's most important to pass on. And by you bringing everyone in-house and working on projects together, I think one of the most important things that you are transferring to your family is that mindset. So, for me, this is all tying back to the genius that you have here. It's like you're going to be able to pass on, again, more than obviously the skills of the business and how to handle a commercial asset. But like you said, the ups and downs when something goes wrong in that business, how do they react and how do they stay into the game long term? So kudos to you on that. Hopefully, obviously, that was part of your plan.
Yeah.
So Shane, how old are your kids then?
The oldest is 27 and youngest is 20. So 27.
Okay.
25, 22, and 20. The number 3 is Anna, the only daughter.
Okay.
Go Anna.
Yeah, she's the toughest one, the most beautiful of all. Yeah.
So do they work in that business with you, or?
Yeah, they do.
Okay, cool. Wow. Okay. So we're learning.
Definitely got to check out his website, Shelby. It's literally, and it has, I started looking, I was like, they all kind of look like, well, not all, but and they have the same last name. Like, this is a family office. So
dude, I love that. Oh my gosh, very cool.
Boring really works because nobody forgets that.
All right.
Okay, cool. Well, let's why don't really quick, Shane. So the book, do you want to intro the book just a little bit, or you want to just jump right into these questions?
Yeah, I would really, because I've been listening to your podcast, and I started with season 1, episode 1.
How adorable are you?
Well, it's really funny because your co-host Natasha in that episode gave the exact reason why I wrote this book. She said, I've got all this training still up on the shelf that I bought. It's still wrapped up in the package.
Yep.
And the reason why I wrote it is because I spent thousands of dollars on training, on events and all this, and never had that one thing that put it all together. And as soon as I found that one thing, I knew that there were other people like me who couldn't go to sleep at night because they had 10,000 thoughts just, going everywhere. And they just in general weren't happy with where they were in life. They wanted more. I had to share it. So that's what the book, how it got going. And then, as you said earlier, it's about that little voice inside your head that says, no, you can't.
We all have that voice. We all do.
Yeah. And so that kind of flows right into one of the things I want to talk about was that tool chest of thoughts and tool chest of things that you talk about in your book that you want to have. Can you kind of just talk with us through what you mean by that?
Sure. So, and Jasmine was saying my favorite word when y'all were starting this show, it's persistence. Number one, your tool chest, your toolbox, it's going to have persistence. I had somebody yesterday asking me, I'm doing all this work. I'm working harder than I ever have in my life. People are saying they like me, they want to do business, but I can't get them to the finish line. What am I supposed to do? And I said, just don't quit. Just keep moving forward. You will eventually break through. It may seem painful, but when I talk about my business, my favorite times to talk about are when it was the hardest and when we were getting started and when I wanted to quit. So you can't quit. Number two is you have to give yourself permission in a loving way to learn and grow, because you're going to make mistakes and failure. If you can take that word failure and turn that into success, and the way you do it is when you make a mistake, you recognize it. Okay, so let's take time management. And so you just worked yourself so tired, and you're like, you know what? I should have done my time management.
You
Well,
learn.
instead of beating yourself up, say, wait, I've recognized that I made a mistake. Now I'm going to correct it this way. So that's how you can give yourself permission to learn and grow. Next, you need to move away from judgment and move into observation. So when we judge things, it's like slamming the brakes on our progress. And if we're observing, we're thinking about what's possible, not what is. Like, how can we make this better? How can I take my note business and just make it explode? Right? I mean, that's when you're observing and asking questions about possibilities, not looking at problems. So, and speaking of problems, don't stay in the problem, stay in the solution. So if your problem is, I'm spending all my free time learning how to do this note business, if you're focusing on that, that's where you're going to stay instead of enjoying the benefits of it. So instead, you got to get out that problem on why you're doing it. Right?
Yeah,
So,
it's a little bit of that, like envisioning in your mind, like where you want to be. And if you're going to keep your mind stuck in that problem, then that's where it will manifest out in your day to day.
yeah, exactly. So just live in the solution. All right. Some really great questions that you can start with are one, what am I thinking right now? That question automatically makes you present. You're not worried about the wreckage of the future, as I like to call it. You're not worrying about the past, you're right now. So what am I thinking about now?
Right.
And does this thought, excuse me, does this thought have any benefit for me?
Yeah. I often find myself correcting my thought process, and it's mostly because I don't have too much time to be going on tangents that maybe other people have invited me to, right? So you're sitting here working, next thing your brother calls you and he might, I don't know, have a bone to pick with somebody, who knows? And now you're supposed to think about that. That's on you. And you ask yourself, what am I thinking? Because a lot of times your brain just starts thinking, you haven't realized you've transitioned to a different subject and you're not focused. So reeling myself in, especially if you know me, that's a huge thing for someone like myself. I want to touch base on something you mentioned, because these are two things that we really practice here at the Nap Nation. So you mentioned allowing yourself to make mistakes, and then you mentioned observation, which is basically the questioning. So these are two things that really epitomize the whole success that we have here at the Nap Nation. And Shelby touched on it earlier, which is, we all hold each other a little bit accountable, right? So the days where she may not have stepped up to the note lately, that would be the one day that I ping her and saying, hey, what's going on with this? Or, hey, I got more information on this, and remind her to get back on track. Same thing on my end. So that community, especially when you have like-minded and people who are equally as persistent and on the same path, is really what's important, because no one is a one-man island. So I really, if you don't mind, a little bit off our subject model, but how important is whether it's your family or community, how much did you do of this alone, and how much did you have someone or a family or support system helping you become a sound mind?
Yeah, so you can do it alone, but it is extremely painful. Okay, because you're making all the mistakes on your own, and you cannot use the experience of others who say like, wait, before you do that, let me tell you about what happened to me, right? But you also have to be very, very careful on who you let into what I would call your mastermind.
Yes, sir.
And you mentioned family. So family, in most cases, I would say you would want to actually show them what you're doing, not tell them.
Right.
Like, because they're the ones that usually bring up the questions like, are you sure you want to do that? Or, that sounds dangerous,
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff. So when you have a community like what you've built, Jasmine, that automatically creates a much safer place for you to do these kind of things and have these kind of conversations where you're talking about the possibilities of creating generational wealth, right? Because you're surrounded by other people who are also interested in those possibilities. So I think it's really important that you get involved with like-minded people and then continue to really dig in and get to know people. Because I met Jasmine at a conference, right?
Yeah.
She's all pink, standing there. I'm like, I gotta go meet this person. And I'm so glad I did. I had no idea what was gonna happen.
Right. It was very interesting. The people that end up definitely approaching me. I try to be as approachable as possible, but of course, all that comes with different backgrounds, right? People have different backgrounds, and which make them, again, go up in their mindset, whether they want to talk to someone. I love talking to different people. And yes, when you did approach me, I have to tell you, especially after we started speaking, I was like, this is going to work. But I'm also a person who believes everything happens for a reason. So finding the community, when I talk about that, if you're able to find a community, we love saying around here that not all money is good money, right? And in that, not all advice is good advice. So going back to you, yes, sometimes your family's not the right place to go immediately. And that's one of the main things that we do here at the NAP Nation, is that we make a community where you can come and make those mistakes. And like you said, make them in front of people who are not going to shame, judge you, and may even say, hey, don't worry, I did that as well. Here's what you can do to avoid it next time, right? But that, I got to tell you, I think you hit on a real pinnacle point, which it may not be where you think it is, but you have to be very protective about who you let into that space, because they may just be bringing you back.
Right. Yeah.
For sure. For sure. Okay, Shane, next thing I wanted to ask you, and I want you to share with the audience, was tell us about these NASA experiments that you talk about in the book. And I think there's 2 of them. If we have time, we can have both. If not, let's start on the one we discussed we were going to start on, but they're really neat.
Yeah, so y'all have been talking about creative thinking here today too, which ties right into this. And Einstein, he said, or famously said, that imagination is more important than knowledge. And so NASA, they hired a company to develop a creative, or a test that would identify creative thinkers, because they were interviewing thousands of engineers. It worked great. Out of the 180,000 people they interviewed, tested 2% were identified as genius level creative thinkers. The problem is they didn't know where creative thinking came from, right? Are we born with it? Is it something we learn? And it was a simple test, so they decided to give it to a group of kids. Average age was 5, 1,600 kids in a Head Start program. And when they gave them the test, they were blown away, because 98% of this group tested at the genius level. So
and these are 5-year-olds.
These are 5-year-olds. And
Right.
the average age of the adults was 31. Now, take in mind, the adults were 2%. So they followed this group of kids for the next 5 years. They tested them at 10, and they dropped to 30%. Were only at the genius level of creative thinking. And at 15, it had dropped to 12. So what they determined was that non-creative behavior is learned. You got two types of learning. You got divergent, which is, pushing your foot on the accelerator and thinking of all the possibilities, and you have convergent, which is judgment. And when we go to school in kindergarten, we're taught to do both at the same time. And so really, we learn how to not think. And it's really hard to get back on track.
Mm-hmm.
And to show you that, the other study you were talking about, NASA put glasses on all their astronauts that flipped their vision 180 degrees so they could work in a disoriented environment.
Mm-hmm.
25th day, an astronaut wakes up because they never took them off. Showered, slept, worked, they stayed on all the time. Astronaut wakes up, his brain has corrupted the image, even though the glasses are still on.
Yeah.
Same
And
thing.
wasn't it after so many days too? Was it like so many days, or what was it?
What they found was that anytime you took the glasses off before a full 30 days, you would have to go back to day one and start over. And so when we think about why things don't work self-help related, it's because we quit way too early. And it's that little voice in our head that says, Shelby, your time management blew up on you. You overworked yourself. It's Sunday. Just sleep in, take the
I'm
day
out.
off.
Yeah, I'm out.
Yeah, you don't need to work on anything. And then that just wiped it out right there. And so there's science proving right there what you have to do to rewire your brain
Mm-hmm.
and create new habits.
Right.
Yeah, that goes back to what we often hear about 30 days to create habits and stuff like that. And that little voice, we all have it, right? And so some of us are even, as we're breaking into new industries, we have that imposter syndrome going in the back. Like, I don't belong here, or because I messed up on this is a reason why I'm not going to be a good lender or banker or whatever it is that you're moving into. So, and a lot of that can come from outside sources too. You're just reiterating what you heard someone tell you in the past. So what I love about this book is it teaches you about moving and looking forward, right? And then filtering out anything that's trying to bring you back. So that, I think, that takes us to one of our questions. I know you talk a lot about distractions in this book, and I know for someone who has ADHD, and was well before they started giving kids the medicine, so I just got to grow up with it, right? I know that there's something to be said about the stats. So you have here that every 5 seconds, the average human gets distracted. So for me, it must be every 2.2 or.
Well, so actually we did a little Shane, in the book. You'll have to read the book, get the book, read the book, and you could do this on your own. But Shane talks in the book about, have one thought in your mind for 20 seconds and leave that thought in your mind and only stay on that thought. And he challenges you to do that. And so he kind of tested Jasmine and I on our call and said, okay, try to do this. And I'll let Jasmine speak for her, but I think I definitely broke before 20. It's a lot harder than what you think it's going to be. We're so used to thinking so many things at one time, especially like women and a mom and, all those things.
100%. I was going to say, especially when you're in the middle of your day, I find it easier to do that like towards the end of the day when I think I've gotten most of the things behind me. And, I feel that I've given myself permission to think of only one thing and relax, but it's definitely a challenge. But, if you do that, it'll get you let you know where you are on this mindset journey, right?
Right.
You last 2 seconds, 5 seconds. Some of you may last the 18 second. You got to get to the 20th.
And it's really not that hard, but it is important to learn how distracted you are and what I would even say pre-programmed you are. Okay. Your brain has 11 million bits of information are hitting your brain every second. But you're only able to be, like, your consciousness maxed out at about 45 bits per second. So there's all kinds of stuff going on that you're not even aware of. And if you focus in on the wrong thing, you're really moving yourself backwards. You have to do it. And the way to, a great memory to use would be like a vacation, something that's really was an awesome memory. if you can't stay on that for 20 seconds, then you know you've got some work to do.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Let's get into this before we get to the last couple questions here. I have another one that just came to mind. The book is entitled Think a Better Thought, right? So what type of examples, for those of us who want, and we love that you're action oriented, and that's what this book is about, is just getting to the bottom line. Give us some ideas of what you mean by thinking a better thought. Is it as simple as saying, and I'm looking at the book, it says, I'm successful. Is it as simple as saying, like, what do you think? Because around here, we always say, like, go and celebrate some of your successes, right? Even no matter how small they are. So these are the ways that we think you can subconsciously think better thoughts. But give us an idea of some real life better thoughts, things that you do and exercises.
I'll give you an example with a mistake that I made, actually, because when I was setting goals for myself a while back, I said, you know what, I want to make $3 million. And I'm like, well, that's not enough. I want to make $31 million. Because my football number, my jersey was 31. I'm like, well, heck, let's just go for it. You know, what if we could do a couple billion? And then I was like, well, what am I going to use this money for? I mean, I don't even know what I'm going to do. It didn't even make sense. What could be better than this, than money, where I could still be okay? Like, what if I made a positive impact on someone's life? And then that money goal for me turned into my mission, which is I want to make a profound positive impact on 3.1 billion lives. That's what it is. So that's where thinking a better thought pushed me, and it removed me from having to be competitive, right?
So are you saying it removed you from thinking about the money part? You decided to think about the helping part, what you're going to do with it. Is that
what I can give versus what I'm going to get? So
right.
Totally shifted it, and also, you know, associating gratitude with
Yes.
that. Yes,
Right.
thinking a better thought, and you know, it's okay to say I'm grateful for what is being created in my life. I'm grateful for this note investment business that just came to me, whether it was from, you know, a friend, relative, found it online. I'm grateful for the success I'm going to have, even if you're just leaving on day one. You can,
you know, I gotta tell you, I think it's very important, and me and my higher level executive partners talk about this a lot, but it's, to me, one of the best things is recognizing where you are right now and how successful and what you are grateful about in your current moment. And we may not be where we want to be. And the truth of the matter is we may never get there. Life is short and not promised to anyone. So focusing on that too much has, to me, I've seen that to be a detriment. Whereas there's a lot of times just be happy about the moment. Have you used your first time? Did you finally find note investing? You're not at the point where Shelby is just yet. Heck, Shelby may not be the point where I am, and there are people I'm not at that point yet. But where are you right now? Right? And what can you do to feel grateful about that moment? I think that is the beginning of it, because if you're stuck in a point where you're wishing you had more immediately in your present time, you really want to be moving towards getting more, not wishing for it, right? I think that's one of the things that I would like to bring to the attention.
Yeah, well, and I do think too, like, it's so, you know, a lot of people are going after money, and I am one of those people. I mean, we all have to have money. We have to pay our bills. We have to buy our kids, you know, their new Nikes and the Dunks and all that. Like, we have to have money for those things. I have to be able to live my life. But you've got, like, going back to what Shane and Jasmine both said, like, you've got to have that passion behind it, and you've got to take your mind out of that and find something else to push towards, at least in my opinion. Because if you're just fighting for the money alone, like, you're gonna quit. Like, that's when you're gonna quit, because it's gonna suck. It's gonna get hard. The deal's not gonna work, or it's gonna fall through. And so you've got to have something else there. But I want to reiterate, like, it's okay to be focused on money. Like, I hate when people say, like, oh, you can't think about money. Like, yes, let's be real. Like, we want to focus on money, but you got to have that something else too.
I think it's great because all of these dreams started with money.
Yes.
So we started with money. It's okay to start with money, but probably the focus as you move on, because I think where this all ties in is that it's all about how you feel. You feel when you're alone in your room by yourself, how do you feel about what you've done? And if you are just only if you can start with the money, but if that's your entire focus, you start to feel empty on the inside. And ask me how I know. You wasted work in Wall Street as a stockbroker. The money is not going to attach to those feelings. So I think what tying into Think a Better Thought is making sure that you now can also feel well. Those good thoughts translate into feelings, and those feelings translate into you actually taking movement. Is that what you find, Shane?
Yeah, and really, like I think of money as a tool. Like a
Mhm.
pile of money is worthless unless you're using it to do something. So, you know,
Right.
I think about, okay, I want to be able, if we decide we want to go fly to Italy, okay, I want to be in that position to do that. So if I'm to be in that position to do that, how much business do I need to do that? So I've got my thought that I'm going after, but the feeling of, man, this would be so awesome. I
Mhm.
can't imagine the excitement on my family's face when they get here, and it's a spur of the moment deal, you know? Okay, what's it going to cost? I need to do boom, 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 boom. Now I've got some money goals that go with the real goal,
There you
you
go.
know, and
Mhm.
it just all works together. And
Yes, you got to have both sides of that.
yeah,
You just said it so much better what I was trying to say, but that's exactly what I was trying to say.
yeah, and be okay with changing what you know. Sometimes you got to work through what you think you want to find what you really want. I've changed my
True.
mind a lot of times.
All right. So we've got a last question here.
So yeah, last thing, kind of going into well, just what, like, out of all of the thoughts here and the Think a Better Thought, what's something that, Shane, you could share, that's something real tangible, maybe one thing that or advice or something that someone can do today, other than reading your book, of course, to really make a positive impact on their thoughts and their mindset.
Replace judgment with observation. So a great question is, am I judging?
And what does judging look like? So how would you catch yourself judging?
Well, let me give you one more question, because I'm gonna answer that. Does judging this have any benefit for me? Okay. So I'm driving down the road before I get to the office. Somebody cuts me off. That SOB, I'm judging them right there.
Gotcha. Okay.
All right, or the phone rings. Oh, this guy, right? Judging, or oh man, I just anything where you're saying what it is versus what it could be.
Oh, okay.
Because if you're observing, you'd be like, well, that's obviously, I mean, you're wearing a pink hat. What if that hat changed colors? You can just start thinking all these questions, and they can be crazy, they can be whatever, but start thinking of the possibilities and get back to your inner 5-year-old. Play.
Yes.
I like that.
Play with life.
Yes.
Have fun, and don't quit taking yourself so seriously. I mean,
I
really,
love it.
just enjoy the day. This may be the last day you got.
You know what's so funny? I wanted you to explain the judging part because it can mean different things to different people. And in my household, once you explain it, it's what I call pre-complaining. Like people just pre-complain before anything happened. Oh, here comes this person. It's like she hasn't even arrived yet. She might come with a different attitude. Or, oh, here comes Amazon speeding that. Look, give the guy a chance. So a lot of people tend to pre-complain because we've been there, done that, bought the t-shirt and the hat, as they say, and we feel like we know what's going to happen. But we are all unique individuals with opportunities to start over new each day. And even if that person does come and prove you right, you gave them another chance. When you answer that phone, you didn't prejudge them. You're like, hey, today you're going to be a good attitude today, right? Or, so I love it.
You're going to think a better thought. That's what you're going to do.
Yeah.
On that note, my friend, I really can't tell you how grateful, going back to that word, I am to have not only run into you, but then for you to accept my invitation to come on the podcast and share everything you have with my community.
Well, thank you for having me on. I've had just a wonderful time. I don't want it to end. It's been so much. Y'all are just amazing, and the people who are working with you, are very fortunate because your intentions on helping people and really helping them be better to get what they want is so obvious that
Right.
that's who you are. So it's so fun to be around people like that. So thank you.
You want to
Awesome.
give us 5 whatever points about how people can contact you? Definitely starting with your website, because I want everyone to just to be inspired by what you were doing. I know I personally was when I looked and see what you're doing with your family. So tell us how to get in touch with you.
Okay, so that website is boringandco.com, and you can get a hold of me there, or you can also go to thinkabetterthought.com. That's the book's website. If you go to that website, there's a free workbook that you can download. Each chapter has an exercise. All the exercises are in this workbook. So that's money's tight. That's a little free gift right there for you. But yeah, that's how you get a hold of me.
Awesome. Well, I absolutely encourage everyone to go check out this book. It's really worth your time. I think it's a quick read. I got through it. I think Jasmine got through it pretty quick. But it's a good read that you're going to have little tabs marked and highlighted for you to go back and reference. I think it's a good one of those books. So can't say thank you enough, Shane. It's been so great getting to know you, and thanks for sharing your message. And I'm here to think a better thought.
Awesome. Thanks, Shelby. Thanks, Jasmine. It's great.
My pleasure. See you soon. All right. So where can they find us, Shelby? How do we wrap this up?
All right. So check out our website, Naked Notes, nakednotespodcast.com. Check us out on all your iTunes and all your normal channels for your podcast. And yeah, just looking forward to next episode.
Good stuff.
Take
Take
care.
care, everyone.
Thank you for joining Naked Notes. Jasmine and Shelby are not attorneys, and this podcast is intended for educational purposes only. For more information about how to work with the Note Assistance Program, please go to www.noteassistanceprogram.com to get details of the programs they offer to help you get started in notes. You can also find them on Facebook at Note Assistance Program. Be sure to also check out their meetup.com page for monthly lunch and learns, note labs, and other events. Make sure to check back regularly for new episodes, and let Naked Notes be your trusted partner on your note journey.